Hello everyone, my name is Priyanka, Project Manager from Seven Sense Talent Solutions. Welcome to the second awareness workshop of Youth Collab India 22-23. For today's awareness session, I am joined by Mr. Nishan, Project Manager from Seven Sense Talent Solution. The fifth edition of Youth Collab India is launched by Atal Innovation Mission, Niti Aayog in collaboration with UNDP India, City Foundation, Biofin and ACT Labs. We are very excited to introduce our expert panel for today's discussion. We have with us Ms. Astha Chandra, who is a National Project Associate for the Biodiversity Finance Initiative program based in New Delhi. She specializes in the sustainable development sector, particularly relating to communities, livelihoods, and businesses. Biofin is a global flagship program based out of 40 countries. In India, it is led by Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change and is supported by National Biodiversity Authority and UNDP. Presently, she coordinates the Biofin program in India and is responsible for bringing about the effective implementation of innovative finance solutions that aim to catalyze public and private sector investments towards nature-positive action. Prior to this, she was working in the area of sustainable land management under the Land Resources Division of TERI and was also a part of FICCI's Environment Division with a focus on corporate social responsibility for nature. We welcome you, Astha.
Hi, thank you, Priyanka, for the introduction, and thank you everyone for having us on the panel today.
Thank you. And the second guest is Mr. Parth Joshi, who is a development research and advocacy professional based in New Delhi with over 12 years experience in project management, strategic research, public policy, and communication. He holds an experience of working in a wide range of sectors with industry, academia, government, and local communities towards creating sustainable and inclusive growth models through grassroots projects, academic discourses, and industry forums. Parth is presently the Communications Officer at UNDP India. He develops and implements communication strategies to enhance engagement and outreach, with an emphasis on issues pertaining to climate and biodiversity. Prior to this, he was a Vice President, Strategic Government Advisory at Yes Bank, providing advisory services and knowledge management support to government institutions and industry forums. We welcome you, Parth.
Hi, thank you, Priyanka. For some reason, both Astha and my video are not working, but we'll get it fixed in a couple of minutes. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. So for fifth edition of Youth Collab India is happy to announce that there are 6 themes, which are digital and financial literacy for youth, gender equality and women economic empowerment, developing fintech solutions focused on biodiversity conservation, promoting biodiversity-friendly lifestyles through technological solutions in finance, accelerating circular economy through upcycling innovations, and the last sixth theme is behavioral nudges for life. The experts for today's discussion specialized in 2 thematic areas of Youth Collab India 22-23, which are developing fintech solutions focused on biodiversity conservation and promoting biodiversity-friendly lifestyles through technological solutions in finance. So, Astha, could you set the context for fintech for biodiversity conservation for our audience, and also explain how is the Biofin program involved with the same?
Yes, absolutely, Priyanka. Thank you for the question. And so, okay, the context for fintech is such that we know that more than half of our global economy, that is nearly 50% of our GDP, the world's GDP, in fact, depends heavily on nature and natural resources. And therefore, investing in biodiversity conservation is one of the most important steps today to ensure that we are able to sustain our ecosystems, and that would subsequently also impact our stable markets. Now, the development of technology has been significantly influenced in our modern economies. And prominent among such developments has been, of course, the rise of financial technology, or what we call as fintech. Like you said, fintech holds great potential to generate more resources for biodiversity conservation. That could include influencing natural capital allocation or assessing impact of our investment choices in biodiversity, or even triggering behavioral change for that matter. Crowdfunding platforms, e-commerce platforms, e-wallets, mobile wallets are some such examples where fintech technologies have been shown to have impact in terms of conservation. Now, fortunately for India, India is actually world's largest fintech market as of 2022 and has accounted for highest fintech adoption rate worldwide, which is about 87%. And UNDP's Biodiversity Finance Initiative, or what we call BioFin, is actually a global UNDP flagship program. This program is working with governments, development organizations, and the public and private and financial sector to catalyze investments in nature across 40 countries. In India, it is led by the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, like you mentioned earlier, and of course supported by the National Biodiversity Authority and UNDP. Now, as part of Biofin's efforts towards leveraging innovative financial solutions to mobilize more resources for nature positive action, we are actually working towards developing innovative fintech driven solutions that can contribute to biodiversity conservation in particular. Now, of course, we understand that fintech as a space is actually fairly new in India. And when we talk about fintech for biodiversity conservation, it becomes even more niche. But I would say that that is precisely the reason why Biofin has chosen to partner with this eminent Youth Collab initiative this year. We firmly believe that platforms like Youth Collab are great to, they are actually a great platform to provide equal opportunities and extensive support to biodiversity conservation initiatives across countries.
Okay. I think we've lost Asta there for a bit. Yeah. Yeah, we can hear you, Asta. Now you can go on.
Yeah, I was just concluding. I concluded my thing. Yeah, that's about it. Thank you.
It was like it was brief an explanation of that. So Asta, could you please tell our audience here more about what the theme, like developing fintech solutions focused on biodiversity conservation, stands for? I think we have lost her again. Yeah.
We've lost her again. So maybe I think I can pick it up. So as Asta explained, the Biodiversity Finance Initiative focuses on mobilizing resources for biodiversity conservation. Now you have your traditional models like the government allocating grants, or you have the corporates who have CSR funds or things like that. But apart from that, we also need to mainstream probably the way we live, the way we consume things, produce things, the way we do business. And we realize that finance is at the heart of it all. So whatever we do in our daily lives, whatever the country's economy is based on, it's all built on a very strong foundation of finance. So if we focus on finance and try to see how finance can contribute towards biodiversity conservation, we will end up investing or working with various sectors whose supply chains or whose businesses depend upon biodiversity conservation. And we can also, in a sense, lower the barrier for individuals to participate in biodiversity conservation when we talk about areas like crowdfunding, where you can probably donate as little as 5 or 10 rupees if you feel like it. So it lowers the barrier for participation of citizens. It can drive consumption of green products, like we have e-retailers like Big Baskets, where you can buy organic produce and you have a place where you can go to. So these are some areas where we think fintech is embedded in the foundations of these businesses or these enterprises or these initiatives, and we want to leverage that, or we want to map, because many times businesses might be contributing towards biodiversity conservation. That's an aspect that we can tend to miss. So can we bring that out, or can we devise solutions where we can say that this is financial technology, or this is technology that is correlated to finance in some manner, and this is a way in which it's contributing towards biodiversity conservation. That's it. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Astha, sorry, I picked up. We had some disconnection.
Would you like to add on to Parth's inputs?
No, I think it's covered perfectly.
Okay. So, Asta, how do we define the thematic area promoting biodiversity-friendly lifestyles through technological solutions in finance?
So this is one of the thematic areas that is present in this edition of Youth Collab. Now, this particular area talks about potential, solutions or models that include promoting and incentivizing basically biodiversity-friendly green consumer behavior that ultimately lead to enhancing investments in the biodiversity conservation space through these fintech-driven technologies. If I were to give you some examples, this may include, say, e-wallets, for that matter. So for example, using a mobile money app that engages users in a way that helps them in day-to-day transactions, and which also converts into, say, green points or green tokens. Now, these green points and green tokens can also contribute to a virtual, planting of a virtual sapling or a virtual tree, and this can actually then translate into real life counterparts of trees being planted. This very model that I'm describing is actually based on a very successful Philippines mobile app-based model. And this app is called the Gcash Forest app. It falls under the Alipay Ant group, and it uses particularly this model of e-wallets, and it has incentivized actually green consumer behavior on its platform through the system of green token and transferring it into a virtual tree, and then ultimately translating into real life counterparts on the ground. And the impact that this kind of model has had is that the Manila watershed has actually been restored through this very app and through this very model of fintech through biodiversity conservation. So that is one such example that I can cite under this theme. So we would be looking at such solutions that actually, through a layer of technology, are trying to realign investments in a way that are contributing towards conservation and also having a on-ground and behavioral impact in terms of their consumers or the people that are connected to the whole ecosystem. So yeah.
Yeah, the examples say it all. So Parth, can you give us examples of what kind of organizations can apply under these two themes? And also, what do we look for in the startup working under the two thematic areas? And what could the companies registering under the fintech category be working on?
Okay, so I'll start with fintech probably. So on one spectrum, we have these large financial institutions that we work with for fintech solutions, but we also realize that there are many consumer facing or many initiatives that are working at a community, city, suburban level that might like to benefit from mentoring or support to upscale their enterprises. So we are looking at enterprises that have a bit of experience of working on the ground or working with technology to achieve their relevant objectives. And what we probably like to focus is on how these institutions are looking at business and then conservation rather than conservation and then business, because if you look at conservation first and then try to correlate it to business, we find that it's often very confusing to think of how fintech can contribute towards biodiversity conservation. But if we try to think about how fintech can help take climate action, how fintech can make businesses, supply chains greener, how fintech can help consumer make green choices, how fintech can make consumers participate in biodiversity conservation. So those are the kind of organizations we are looking for. These are basically small upcoming organizations that we are looking at in terms of their size. So I hope I answered the fintech question. Is there any more elaboration you require there?
Definitely. It was covered.
And if you can just remind me the other theme.
Yeah. So what do we look for in the startups working under the two thematic areas? And also, what could the companies registering under the fintech category be working on?
Okay, so I think I've answered the fintech part. The other part I think is about biodiversity friendly consumer behavior, if I'm correct.
Yeah, correct. Correct.
Correct. So I think there we want the correlation to be with the government's life campaign or the lifestyle for environment campaign that was launched by the Prime Minister in October last year. And it basically takes the climate action debate on a consumer level as well. Generally, when we talk about climate change, we talk about industries polluting, we talk about use of fossil fuels. And perhaps we end up missing the point that most of these resources are used to make products or deliver services that we as consumers end up taking up. So Life basically wants to sensitize consumers towards taking more environment-friendly choices, and it's based on the principle of behavioral nudges. So to cite an example, we all know about the Swachh Bharat mission, which tried to promote safe sanitation services for citizens, and it was not just about building toilets; it was also getting people to use those toilets. So that was where the behavioral nudge part came. So you could make it a social taboo to not use toilets. You could make it an issue of prestige that people in your household are not using toilets. So those were the kind of behavioral nudges that were adopted. So when we take it to the biodiversity or the climate angle, probably if we use less plastic packaging, we might see some correlation with animal deaths, because we know quite a large number of animals die by ingesting plastic and associated products. So while using a cloth bag might only look like a climate action initiative, we also see that it also contributes towards biodiversity conservation. So how can you make consumers take such behavioral nudges, basically, is what we mean to say. And in terms of the organizations we are looking for, one, you could be an organization who advocates for such lifestyle changes and who wants to make an impact in terms of quantifying it, that these many people are now living sustainable lifestyles. We can have a set of parameters through which this can be measured. Or if there's a product or service that you're offering that contributes positively towards nature and biodiversity. And it's, of course, providing a product that a consumer is using. So, yeah.
So also, how important, according to you, is the role of a mentor in the journey of a startup?
So, see, what happens is when we start with an idea, it's basically a thought that comes out of our own head. And as you try to implement it in the outside world, there are various extrinsic factors that you cannot control. And this can sometimes be overwhelming, especially for small organizations who are working in a specific area who need access to capital. I mean, getting a loan is not as simple as it might seem when we look at all these advertisements. How to scale up your business, how to get partnerships going, how to engage with partners, how to prepare pitches. We do that when we start off initially. We do some own research, we go to the internet. But for real life experiences or people who've had real world experiences of building a startup, it's always beneficial to hear what they've been through. And it's one, it contributes to your technical understanding, definitely. And also at a psychological level, you get the support that's needed, because when you know that there are people like you who've been in a place that you've been before, it's always a comforting fact. And that is something that also provides you motivation to keep working towards your goal, which might be scaling up your respective startup.
Yeah. So the next one was, if I own a business and work in the field of biodiversity, how can I possibly integrate fintech with my business? So this was the question which was raised in one of our queries.
Okay, so I mean, we need to know what kind of a business we are talking about here. And so, I mean, if it's a business you have, probably look at your supply chains, look at the product or service you are providing, how the product or the service is being manufactured, and how it is being consumed. And at both these points, what's the impact upon climate, upon nature, upon biodiversity? I think if we start with that, that kind of gives you a template to put your thoughts down, and then you could probably, depending upon the nature of business a person is in, see what their impacts are. And then we kind of plug fintech in, because fintech is kind of ubiquitous in a way. It's kind of embedded in a lot of our daily lifestyle practices, so that eventually tends to come in.
So now that we have a lot of applications already for the 5th edition of Youth Collab India, how important is it for a startup to know people from the same industry or sector?
I mean, as I said, it gives you a lot of psychological support and comfort to meet these people. And of course, there's an exchange of ideas, because it's our own idea we begin with, but it's basically like a river. The more tributaries flow into it, the bigger it becomes. So for an idea to scale itself up, it needs various other ideas to flow into it as well. So that is where I think interacting with one's peers helps.
Okay. So I hope all our questions have been covered and the answers to our listeners have been answered. So that brings to us to the end of the discussion with our experts. And thank you, Parth and Asta, for joining us today. It was really nice and nice to understand the things from your perspective.
Thank you. And if there are any other questions, I think we have email IDs and everything that is available. So I'd request the audience to please feel free to write in the questions anytime they feel like. And we look forward to more and more applications. Windows closing soon, so we request everyone to apply soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us. And we are reachable anytime. So, any queries, any questions, any doubts you may want to direct to us in any field, we're always open to answer them. Thank you.
So much. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I would now like to hand over to Mr. Nishant from now on to speak about the applications, the pitch deck, and the AAM site and FAQ documents. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Priyanka. Thank you so much. So, for everybody who is just on the call right now, thank you for being a part of this webinar. And I would like to quickly take you through the thematic areas of Youth Collab to begin with. So there are, as Priyanka mentioned earlier, that we have 6 thematic areas for this year's Youth Collab, which is digital and financial literacy for youth, gender equality and women economic empowerment, developing fintech solutions focused on biodiversity conservation, promoting biodiversity friendly lifestyles through technological solutions in finance, accelerating circular economy through upcycling innovations, and behavioral nudges for life, which is also known as lifestyle for environment. So if I can briefly talk about all these thematic areas, let me begin with digital and financial literacy for youth. So this is most likely to become an increasingly important aspect of education and development of the gig economy. Individuals will become more responsible of their own financial planning to expand the benefits of digital infrastructure to 1.3 billion Indians. Financial innovation must keep the 65% rural population at the center of the design. There is a need to find solutions that will bridge the digital divide and solutions that will enable vulnerable groups, including the elderly, less educated, owners of small and medium sized enterprises, startup firms, and women to leverage the advantages of digital technology and be a part of the mainstream economy. Moving on to the second thematic area of Youth Collab, which is gender equality and women economic empowerment. Now, this is a big problem, as we all understand. Gender equality and women economic empowerment includes their ability to participate equally in existing markets, their access to and control over productive resources, access to decent work, increased voice, agency, and meaningful participation in economic decision making at all levels, from household to international institutions? Have you developed solutions that add value for women and girls affected by humanitarian and development challenges and give them an equitable opportunity? Do you have a solution that can be a driver of change for the problems faced by women and girls? Moving on to the third thematic area, which is developing fintech solutions focused on biodiversity conservation. Biodiversity and ecosystem services, or nature for short, underpin many aspects of economic activity and are deteriorating at an unprecedented level, with potentially far-reaching implications for economies worldwide. Sustained ecosystem damage can trigger regime shifts and generate systemic impacts on human well-being and economies. Government and regulators, supported by financial institutions and multilateral development banks, hold the key to mobilizing private finance at the scale needed to transform the way we build, produce, and consume in order to protect nature while fostering sustainable poverty reduction. Do you have an initiative or a solution that can bridge the intention action gap between green financing and financing green? Now, let me explain about the difference between these two terminologies. When I talk about green financing, it means the financing of projects that contribute or intend to contribute to the conservation, restoration, and sustainable use of biodiversity, as opposed to green financing, which ideally means directing financial flows away from the projects which have a negative impact on biodiversity and ecosystems to projects that mitigate negative impact or pursue positive environmental impact as a co-benefit. Moving on to the next thematic area, which is promoting biodiversity-friendly lifestyles through technological solutions in finance. Fintech, as you all know, is the fastest growing technology segment in India, accounting for the highest fintech adoption rate at 87% and is the biggest destination for investments worldwide. With the emergence of fintech as a pivotal force, changes the paradigms of the financial sector and offers an opportunity to allocate more resources towards biodiversity conservation. The idea is to have solutions that can build better systems for promoting green behavior and investments through fintech to enhance the use of e-wallets, increase the impact of social media and conservation, or create biodiversity trading opportunities. Accelerating circular economy through upcycling innovations is the fifth thematic area for this year's Youth Collab. Over the past decade, humanity has reached two major milestones. The world is consuming over 100 billion tons of materials and is already 1 degree warmer. Our world is only 8.6% circular as per the Circularity Gap report. The circular economy is an alternative to the linear make waste. It seeks to design out waste, regenerate natural ecosystems, and keep materials and products in use for as long as possible. To this end, resources are not consumed and discarded, destroying their value. Rather, their value is retained by reusing, repairing, remanufacturing, upcycling, and recycling. Only 9% of plastic waste is successfully recycled. We all need to know how increasingly move from recycling technologies, upcycling, transformation of products, and waste materials. Moving on to behavioral nudges for life. At the 2021 UN Climate Change Conference, our Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, announced Mission Life to bring individuals' behavior at the forefront of global climate action narrative. Life envisions replacing the prevalent use and dispose economy governed by mindless and destructive consumption with a circular economy, which would be defined by mindful and deliberate utilization. The mission tends to nudge individuals to undertake simple acts in their daily lives that can contribute significantly to climate change when embraced across the world. Life plans to leverage the strength of social networks to influence social norms supporting climate. The mission plans to create a nature of global network of individuals, namely pro-planet people, popularly known as P3, who would have a shared commitment to adopt and promote environmentally friendly lifestyles. Through the P3 community, the mission seeks to create an ecosystem that will enforce and enable environmentally friendly behaviors to be self-sustainable. So these are the thematic areas of this year's Youth Collab. So now moving ahead, if I could just share my screen and run you all through the application process or the application form for this year's Youth Collab. Please give me a moment while I share my screen. Thank you. Yeah, I hope my screen is visible. Could you just give me a thumbs up if it's visible, please? Wonderful. So as you can see, this is the application form for the 5th edition of Youth Collab. We begin with the themes and then move on to the eligibility criteria to participate in Youth Collab India. Early stage startups led by Indian youth aged between 18 to 29 years who have a prototype, product, service, or the concept centered around the themes of Youth Collab India. The team, if incorporated, should be less than 5 years old. That is, the incorporation of the founding team should be during or after December 2017. We encourage ideas and solutions that are viable and scalable. Startup teams led by women, LGBTIQA, persons with disabilities, tribal youth. Therefore, for them, the age limit of the founders is extended up to 32 years. It's a very simple application form, wherein to begin with, we would ask you for the name of your team, the name of your startup, which of the below themes is your idea aligned to, which will ideally be the themes of Youth Collab. Here we have the options to enter the participant name, your nationality, your date of birth, what is your sex, your gender. If you identify yourself belonging to any of the marginalized groups, you can check this box here. We talk about, or we'd love to know about your current occupation, your email address, and if you'd like to share your contact details and WhatsApp number separately, that will be wonderful. And which Indian city do you reside in? The state or the union territories do you belong to? If you have a LinkedIn profile, you can share it with us here. If you have any members of your founding team over the age of or under the age of 18 to 29, you can mention that here. What are the kind of problem that you're trying to solve? We would like to hear from you. This will help during the evaluation process of the application. Tell us about your project idea and how is it solving the problem that you're addressing. What is the current stage of your project? We would really love to know that one. Ideation stage, research and development stage, proof of concept, pre-seed stage, seed stage, early stage, growth stage, or if you're not sure about it, you can mention that as well. Which technology or technology is your product using? We have an option to select that, from artificial intelligence, digital, machine learning, cloud computing, data analytics, virtual reality, Internet of Things, smart devices, and others, and not applicable. We would really love to hear your business plan. Again, as I told you earlier, this would really help us to evaluate your application. And if you have any grant or fellowship awarded, please do mention about that as well. Moving on, in the application form, we have a criteria in which you can select who are your customers. Government forces, government armed forces, education institutions, corporates, individual customers, civil society, youth, women, persons with disabilities, individuals below the poverty line, people affected by climate change, LGBTIQA, senior citizens, and more. And about the pitch deck, yes, you would need to upload a pitch deck. This is only a suggested template that I will be sharing it with you in a moment. And we would love to have a look at all your pitch decks, which would be, again, as I told you earlier, help in the evaluation process. If you have a company website, please provide the link here, or if you have a LinkedIn profile of your team or a startup, you can share that here as well. Moving on, what is the kind of support that you're looking at for at Youth Collab India? Prototyping, pilot testing, expert mentorship, fundraising support, market exposure, industry connects, marketing support, networking, technological guidance, peer connects, implementation support, or if you need any other kind of support, you can please mention it over here. We will certainly get in touch with you and get more information from you. And if you want to share any relevant documents, you can please upload them. For example, if you have any prizes won, contests, funding rounds, government recognitions, patents, press mentions, etc., we would love to know about that as well. So that being said is the application form for this year's Youth Collab. And if you have any more, if you want any more information, you can always visit the website provided here. The team will also putting this in the chat box. We also have the helpline number for this year's Youth Collab, as well as the email address that is highlighted on the screen as we speak, and we will also be putting it in the chat box in a minute. Moving on, if I can just quickly show you, just give me a minute here. The pitch deck, which is also an integral part of the application process. Now, this is just, we've just taken a bit of a creative liberty and designed a pitch deck skeleton. You're free to use this particular pitch deck, or if you have your own pitch deck, you're free to upload that as well. To begin with, the company name, the presenter's name, presenter's title, and the contact details. The problem, opportunity. Tell us your story by featuring a powerful image in the background. What is the problem or the opportunity? What is the magnitude of the problem that you're trying to solve? State the pain point of the problem if it's not solved. How, where, and how many people's lives are being affected as we speak. Speaking about solution and SDG impact, we'd love to know about your solution, your vision, and what does it look like to solve the problem at scale. How is your startup solving a problem that you mentioned above? Which SDG is your solution achieving? Is the solution scalable, replicable across markets? So as I told you, these are the kind of points which will help us evaluate the quality of the application and then shortlist further. If you have a demo, show us how it works with a demonstration of your product, mock-up of what would it look like, or a video, or even an image of your service in action. What has been the user journey from start to finish, be it physically or digitally? What makes your solution unique? About the business model, what is the proposed selling price of your product or the service? Where does the potential sources of revenue come from? How is this initiative able to sustain financially? Or what is the value of the product on offer? What are the major costs and who are the users? The go-to market plan, the growth strategy, what is your marketing strategy? Who are your competitors? How would you plan to reach your first batch of customers if you're pre-launch, that is? And if you are publicly launched, how many customers have you acquired and retained? What is your growth target for next year? Management and core skills. We would love to know who are the rock stars behind the team. What are your core skills, experience, and knowledge? You can just probably add a nice picture of the individuals or the team picture here. Current progress, achievements, and timeline. What's the current status of your solution? How would you like to share your greatest achievements so far? What's your timeline for the next few years? Any awards, strategic partnerships, funding rounds that you've achieved so far? We'd love to know about that as well. Now, your goal, your strategy, your need, from Youth Collab India. That is something that we all can talk about once we have a conversation on So yeah, that's the final slide. That's the pitch deck for you all. So if I can just stop sharing my screen as we speak. Well, if you have any questions for us, you can ask us right now. More than happy to answer any questions that come our way.
Hey Nishant, there are few questions in the question section.
Okay, let me take
The first question would be, what if our idea touch more than one thing?
Oh, that's a good question. Yes. So what I suggest is, we will get in touch with the applicants, and we'll probably evaluate the idea first, and then work together to understand or analyze what particular thematic area is the applicant or the application, in line with. So we can do that. Totally, we can do that. Yes.
Okay, the next question is from Rakesh, and they
Mhm.
are asking, how will I know if my application gets selected?
Well, that's a good question, Rakesh. Once the application process is, once the application deadline is completed, that is the 22nd of January, we will have a jury member on board. So once they start evaluating the applications, we will definitely get in touch with you, Rakesh, to tell you if your application has been shortlisted, and we'll come up with the reasons so as to know what would exactly happen with your application, if it's going ahead, why is it going ahead, and if it's rejected, the reasons for that as well.
Okay, I
Hope
hope
that
we got the answer.
yeah.
So the next question is, for example, what if my startup idea touches both education and fintech? Because we can only choose one in the Google form.
Okay. So I would suggest personally, to select a category or a thematic area which best aligns according to your understanding at the moment. But as I told you earlier, we will also be getting in touch with all the applicants individually to help them understand better about the application as well. So we can totally get in touch with them and understand the requirement or the thematic area in which they've applied so far, and then probably guide them accordingly, Priyanka.
Yeah. The next one would be, hello Youth Collab. What is the procedure for selecting?
Selecting. Can you just rephrase the question for me, Priyanka, please?
So can I take it?
Yes, please. Sure.
Yeah, so the selecting procedure would be, once if you apply using the Google form, those ideas we would be like Nishant said, we would be onboarding jury members. We would give it to jury members to evaluate those ideas. After 2 to 3 weeks of evaluation, we would be announcing the top 30 as a shortlist, and those shortlist would be attending national level incubation program for a 60 days, and after that we would be conducting a startup challenge and a national innovation dialogue, and then we would be announcing winners. If I've missed anything, you can add on, Nishant.
No, Priyanka. I guess that's it. That's it. You covered it.
Yeah, so the next one would be, do we have any application fee for this, or do you charge for applying?
Absolutely no. We do not. We do not charge anything for this.
Yeah.
It's just the idea that we are looking for. There's absolutely no fee structure, or any kind of hidden charges, so there's nothing like that. If you have an idea which you deem fit as applicable to any other thematic areas of Youth Collab, please do apply for this, and we will be more than happy to get in touch with you and help you in your journey as a startup ahead.
Yeah. So the next one would be, is incorporation of a private entity required to apply for Youth Collab 2023, or can we apply as just a team?
Well, I guess either. You can apply as just a team as well. It's not necessary that you are registered as a startup. If you have a team, if you have an idea, that and all can be taken care in the following steps as well. But yeah, if you have an idea and don't have a startup registered, please don't shy away from applying for Youth Collab. We'd love to hear from you.
So the next one would be, one of my co-founders is a 35-year-old non-Indian citizen. Does it account for disqualification?
Well, if at all you have another co-founder who is an Indian citizen and within the age bracket of 18 to 29, now if that is a possibility, you can most certainly apply for this year's Youth Collab. Otherwise, I would suggest we can actually evaluate this on a case-by-case basis and then take it forward.
Okay, the next one would be, sir, would I get this pitch deck PPT on my number so that we can present according to standard, please? So we have, our team have collected the number and we would be sharing them personally.
Yeah, that can be done. Yes, why not?
So the next one would be, we are in team. Should all my team members fill in the application?
Well, if you see the application form that I just shared with you, you have an option to add a team member, but that's not mandatory again. The founder or the co-founder can apply for this year's Youth Collab in the application form itself. But we'll anyways be getting in touch with all the applicants and we'll be taking the details of the entire team as we speak.
Okay. We have few of the questions from YouTube as well.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so they're telling I have the pitch deck, but it is not in the format that is given in the Google form. Still, can I submit my idea?
Absolutely, yes. The pitch deck is just a skeleton that we've provided for you to get an idea of how it looks like, while submitting an idea or a pitch deck. If you have your own pitch deck, please upload that. Happy to have a look at that.
Yeah, so it was always they're telling that I was always wanted to make something, but no one ever noticed. Now I think it is time to make my own project. No one had ever given me support in school, so they're telling their
yeah, the pain points. Welcome to Youth Collab. This is where your dreams can turn into reality, my friend.
So the next question is from YouTube. I feel my idea relates to multiple themes. I'm confused which theme to opt. Could you please
We
help
will
me?
definitely get in touch with you and help you understand which themes does your idea is best aligned to of the 6 thematic areas of Youth Collab.
Yeah. So I hope all the questions from Q&A section have been answered.
Okay.
So Nishan, could you tell us when is the last day to apply in Youth Collab India 22-23?
Yes, Priyanka. 22nd of January 2023 is the last day to apply for this year's Youth Collab India. So please share this across in your networks and make the best of the opportunity at hand. Any other questions do we have, Priyanka, from YouTube, from our chat box, or from our WhatsApp queries? You can just ask us. Any other questions? No? Okay, sounds good. Fair enough. Yeah, you can take over, Priyanka, from here on.
So we have a few questions from WhatsApp queries as well.
Yes, please.
So it says, how will I know if my application, that it has already been answered. What do you mean by Springboard program? They're asking about the Springboard program.
Okay, Springboard program is a wonderful platform for all the startups that get shortlisted. After all the applications, we'll be shortlisting 30, as you told me, Priyanka. Correct me if I'm wrong. So these startups will undergo a 2-month-long incubation program, which we call Springboard program. Here we get all the shortlisted startups a chance to get the best industry connects, peer networks, and a chance to fundraise as well. And we have thematic experts coming in at different points of time to guide all these startups on their journey on the app.
Okay.
So there are various online workshops as well as a part of the Springboard program. All they have all the evaluation criteria as well as a part of the jury member. So yes, the startups will largely benefit from the fact that somebody is always there for them to guide them at each step during the entire process of Youth Collab.
Correct. So The WhatsApp questions queries have also been completed.
Wonderful. Yes, should we wait for another minute or two if you have any questions? I guess probably we can close this with a word of thanks. All right, then that brings us to the closure of this particular awareness program. Thank you, everybody who's been a part of this session so far. And we hope to see you and your applications very soon for Youth Collab India. And happy to connect with everybody during the webinar today. And yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, Nishant. So there is another question. Can you please elaborate the timeline?
Oh, the timeline. Yes, absolutely. Well, as you all know that the 5th edition of Youth Collab India was launched on the 15th of December, and January 22nd is when the applications are live. So that is the last date before which you'll have to register for this year's Youth Collab. And then coming on to Feb and March of this year, that is the National Springboard Program. That's for 2 months, as me and Priyanka spoke earlier. And towards April 2023 is when we will have the grand finale, that is the National Innovation Challenge and the National Innovation Dialogue. After which we will be announcing the winners. And yeah, that's the timeline in a nutshell.
So the next one would be, so you will provide support before we submit the application only, or you will contact each of us before announcing the shortlisted?
Well, I'm sorry, can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah. So you will provide support before we submit the application only, or you will contact each of us before announcing the shortlisted?
We will contact you before announcing the shortlisted application.
Okay. So the other one is just to get a view, how many applications have already come in? What are the numbers we are looking at by the end deadline?
Okay, that's a good question. As of now, we have close to 200 applications, Priyanka, which is a very promising number. Having said that, these are very niche categories of thematic areas, and as of now, we don't have a cap as such that we need these many applications. But yeah, I would be happy with around let's say 1,000.
Okay. So the next one is, I'm confused about support. Which type of support we will get? I mean, financial or mentorship or both? Please, if financial, then how much, please?
Okay, so we have both to answer the question. The winner of, as I told you, there's 6 thematic areas for this year's Youth Collab. And the best idea per theme will get a grant award of $5,000. And the second best idea in each theme will receive a grant award of $3,500.
Yeah. So how many teams for Springboard program?
30 teams. We will have 5 teams per thematic area that we will be selecting after the evaluation process, which go under the 60-day Springboard program. At the end of the Springboard program, we will be left with 12 teams, that is 2 per theme. And these are the ones which get the maximum benefit out of Youth Collab India 22-23.
So the next one is, can I know the evaluation scheme, the requirements?
Well, we will have the evaluation criteria, based on the applications, the quality of applications, the kind of work that they've put in, the thematic area in which the applicant has been registered. If at all, as you have seen in the application form, the criteria to apply and everything. So everything put together, we will have that evaluation matrix designed, based on which we'll be understanding what needs to be done further.
Okay, so they're asking during evaluation, each application will be contacted?
Absolutely, yes.
Just to know about the brief explanation on their idea and what criteria they're applying in.
Yes, yes. So whoever is applying for this year's Youth Collab will definitely get a call back, asking for any kind of support that you would require from our side. And if at all they need some help in understanding the thematic areas as well, yes, we'll be more than happy to answer those questions and solve any queries as well.
So this is already answered. Is the Springboard a virtual or a live event or offline?
That'll be a virtual event.
Yeah. So I think we're done with the questions from Q&A section.
Okay. So yeah, that brings us to the end of this webinar, and we'll have a next one. The next webinar will be announced shortly, so kind of stay tuned to get the details of the next webinar as well. We have another lineup of amazing panelists for the next webinar. So yes, looking forward. Well, I would say, thank you everybody who has been a part of this webinar so far, and yeah, you have a good evening, everybody.
Thank you for all the participants.
Thank you.